All right, y'all. So I was thinking to myself, like, I've used a lot of different DAWs over the years. And I came to the realization a couple years ago that, like, using a lot of different DAWs is a good thing. Initially, I was thinking, like, oh, I just need to find one DAW and kind of settle into it. And I do think that we probably should have one DAW that we can mostly do everything in, like a Swiss Army knife, and it's the one DAW where we've gotten really good at it and we have like almost a masterful level of control when using it. But I'm gonna be honest with you. Out of like the four main DAWs I use, and then I'm gonna go ahead and throw the MPC in there too. Every single one has done something for me, has taught me something that I about creating music that I otherwise wouldn't know had I not used that DAW. So I just wanted to talk about that. So like right now I got Machine pulled up. I'm not gonna be like going through the sounds or anything like that. But what Machine taught me was just sort of doing things in a loop. Because when you're creating a machine, things just kind of loop around naturally. Like this right here. It just kind of loops around and loops around and loops around. If there was a sound playing right now, this would just sort of loop around and loop around. That's a very, primary function of like creating good music. Now, there are other DAWs that do that as well. Like the MPC is like that. Fruity Loops is like that. But some DAWs are not like that by default. Like if you go into a Logic session, it's not really like that. If you go into Reason, it's not really like that. Pro Tools, like they're very, very linear based DAWs. Also, in using Machine, now to a beginner, you get to talking about buses and all these other things. When people first started talking about buses, I was like, what are they talking about? Like I don't need to do that. Like I thought they was just like telling me some unnecessary, nerdy stuff that they just wanted to do because it made them feel and sound smart. But like no, they was really like giving game. And so like I love the fact that in Machine you automatically have buses and they're labeled as groups. So when you go to these groups, if I put an effect on this group, whether it be like say if I wanted to put some reverb and I wanted to affect every sound, all of these could be individual sounds. I could have a kick here, a snare here, I could have a hi-hat, and this could be like my drum group. See what I'm saying? Then I could come here and I could put, oh, this is my sample group. Let's say I had a couple samples in there. So when I click this one, if I want to put an effect that affects that entire group, if I wanted to go and put some compression on that entire group, I could. But I could also flip over and just put an effect on the individual sound of that group, that individual sound that I'm clicking down here. So this taught me a certain organization that I otherwise was not thinking coming from a beginner standpoint. So that's Machine. Let's get over to Reason and why Reason is great. Reason is great for obvious reasons. Most people know that in Reason you can flip the rack around. You can flip it around. You get to understand how all of this outboard gear, which models the outboard gear in a real studio, would look like. And so you have your hardware interface, you have your audio I/O, and you're able to see how to route things. So if I added an audio track right here, I can go in here, and then let's say if on that audio track, if I wanted to put one of my favorite EQs, and I go on there and I'm editing the vocal, you know what I'm saying? I'm rolling off the lows, I'm doing what I want to do. And I really want to see, oh, look, it only routed in the left side, which this is only an audio, mono channel. But if I wanted stereo, then I can do that and put that in there. If I was recording in stereo, that would actually have an effect. And I get to see how things route to one another. Oh, this goes into there and then it comes out of here and then goes into there. And then if I add another effect on here, let's just add something random, this compressor. Oh, so it goes out of there into there and then out of here back up into there. So you begin to understand the signal flow of things. Also, even better than that is being able to see the rack. Okay, let's add some more audio channels. Let's create a mix channel, another mix channel. Let's create an audio track. Track. Let's create a bunch of audio tracks. And so I could have all these audio tracks. This could be a vocal right here. You know what I mean? This could be a snare. And I can literally reorganize these. I can literally come in here, color code things. So what this DAW teaches is like how flexible you can be when you can easily color coordinate things and, you know, move things around like this. Like in Logic, I can't just move these around. If there's a way to do it, I didn't know how to do it. At least I don't think you can. I haven't used Logic in a while. Correct me if I'm wrong. But this DAW is really good for understanding the signal path. That's what I was really getting at. So you can control the input that's going into your plugins from right here. And it's going through this entire chain right here. And it's letting you know the signal path. It's starting with dynamics, EQ, and then insert. So you have dynamics here, goes down to EQ, and then it goes down to insert down here. And so you can even change the order of the signal flow if you wanted to. You could put EQ before dynamics and so forth and so on. So that's very, very good. Also, it taught me to how powerful it is to have mix bus glue going on while you're producing and mixing. When you mix while this is on, not only can it help you like increase the volume without you having to like flip it around and do some stuff with the control room, which I really hate doing it that way. I'd rather just control my volume using this. And it allows you to hear the music more squeezed together, more glued together, which helps with the emotion when I'm producing something and I want to feel more of the emotion before I go to record a vocal. This just kind of helps pull things together as I kind of let that compressor hit, you know, maybe give it a slow attack and an auto release or something, and then pull the makeup gain up to just, you know what I mean? And also, even better, when you come down here, and let's say I had a vocal recorded right here, and I had some drums recorded right here, and I had some hi-hats recorded right here, and I got my lead sound recorded right here. The way that I'm able to quickly come in here and manipulate things and move things around, you know, and I can very quickly change the time signatures. You know, I can just come down here, like everything is just so quick, and you end up learning things that you wouldn't otherwise learn in other DAWs as a result. Okay, you come over to Luna. Now this is where I really learned something that I didn't know in Luna. Luna taught me, and I'll show you, whenever you add a new track, I know there's a faster way to do this. I don't know all the hotkeys in here. New track, shift command in, shift command in. Okay. Let's just create a bunch of them at once. Whenever you add new tracks in Luna, it automatically puts this tape on there. And I was really trying to figure out, why does Luna sound so good? Now, even without these, Luna probably does sound slightly better. But the real magic behind Luna is the fact that they're putting these studers on every channel by default. Now, you could change this over to another one. I think you could change it to the oxide or whatever. But the fact that these are on every channel, it's something for you to see and understand that, like, wow, this really enhances the sound. Because now, because I own UAD plugins, when I'm mixing in another DAW, I now have the knowledge to put some of this tape saturation on every channel. And then the way that it automatically puts a master tape on all of your buses Something else that I never thought about. I always thought that like master tapes was something that I just wanted to stick on my main mix bus and that was it. I never thought of it as like putting it on individual channels or individual buses. And it really does give you a lot of control over the sound. Like I can make my entire drum group a little warmer just by screwing with this right here and putting a lower value in this middle section. I can make my vocal brighter just by putting a higher value in there, by putting a higher number on this section right here. You know, I can go from a more vintage sound here to a higher quality, a more modern sound with a higher number up here, you know. And then with this one right here, I can get a more pushback sound or a more forward sound with a larger value down here in this lower one. These are things that I never would have perceived if I never started using Luna. You know, if I would have just stuck with Pro Tools back when I was using that, or just stayed in Fruity Loops the whole time, or just only used Reason, I would have never known some of the things that I've learned. And I'm able to take this knowledge and bring this same knowledge into other DAWs that I use. So now I know to put the tape on my buses and how much, better I'm able to have control over the sound. So that's the main feature about Luna that I really love. What did I learn from Logic? Honestly, Logic taught me that a DAW, this was the first DAW that sounded better from anything else I had been using up until the point I had used it. I had used a couple different DAWs, and I started using this, I think, back in like 2014 or 2015 or something like that. And for a while, I had kind of abandoned Reason simply because I was like, man, everything just sounded better in Logic. So what else did I learn from Logic? I don't know if I can necessarily say that Logic necessarily taught me a lot, but I'm sure there would be something to learn if I went deeper into it, but it's not my favorite DAW. And then we can go over to the MPC. Okay, so the MPC really taught me about arranging my music. And so if I've created a loop and I've got all my sounds in that loop, if I go to right here in the intro, I have a small loop. This is a bad example because I reduced that to 3 bars, but let's go here. I started my song off with like this 8-bar loop, right? And I've pretty much got everything laid out how I want it to be throughout the entire duration of the whole song. Now, the part where it really shines for me is the intuitiveness of the arrangement. So I copied everything that was in the verse to multiple sequences. Okay. So the same thing that you see in the verse is the same thing that you see in the pre. It's the same thing that you see when you go over here to the hook. It's the same thing that you see over here when you go to the next verse. It's all the same. The difference is that when I hit this mute button and I come over here and then I'm going through those same sequences, we're on verse 2 still, go to hook, go to pre, go to verse, you go to intro. It allows me to mute the sections I don't want playing during that section. So it's a very intuitive arrangement to where I'm not staring at a linear screen and overthinking it. I'm just kind of quickly selecting what section I want to be muted for which. And I'm just kind of feeling it because I can start playing on the intro. It's playing. And then I toggle this. Let me move this over. Toggle this wheel right here. It's already set up for the next, for the verse. I've already selected my mutes. I turn this. It's letting me know what's coming next. That's the pre. I got those muted. Yeah, like, so you see what I'm saying, like the arrangement on here. But not only that, just my ability to jump in there, you feel what I'm saying, and really just become immersed in the music. Okay, so what I'm saying is I didn't know what I was missing by not using my hands to immerse myself in the music like that. Like, so I'm just saying this to encourage you. Like, don't limit yourself. Don't be like, oh, I gotta stick with this DAW because somebody said that if I don't master one DAW, then I'm just gonna always be all over the place. No, bruh. Like, I plan on eventually probably getting into Ableton, probably getting into Studio One. I've never heard a bad thing about Studio One. Like, the way that the Studio One people talk about Studio One, I'm like, Studio One must be a national treasure. Like, I ain't gonna know until I use it, but just the way people talk about it, I'm like, yeah, it gotta be something special there. So don't be afraid. You know what I mean? Fruity Loops also taught me some stuff back in the day. Like, it taught me about just how working quickly can help you to be more creative, because it's a very fast DAW. Like, you're immediately just plugging sounds in there. So like, experimenting with different DAWs, you're gonna find you're stronger in certain areas when you produce and when you mix in certain DAWs, and you may be able to create a hybrid workflow. I don't think that you should feel like, oh, I'm pro FL and it's only FL. Like, I mean, that's cool if that's what works for you, but I'm just saying, I think you could be kind of putting yourself in a box and limiting how much you can expand. So, best to everybody that's out there, you know what I mean? Hey, if y'all got music and y'all watching my channel, hey man, share it. Like, I love hearing different music, and I love hearing from y'all. So like the video if you rock with it, comment, subscribe, all of that. I'll see y'all in the next one.